Welcome to Studio A with Dave Thornton. Coming to you live from the RMITV studios in the heart of the city. On tonight's show, acclaimed conductor Richard Gill, documentary maker Matt Norman, and Olympic athlete John Stevenson, comedian Fox Klein, and live music from Nick Murphy. But now, please, welcome the host of Studio A, Mr. Dave Thornton.
Thank you, thank you. That's a lot. That is a lot. I'm so proud of you guys. Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Studio A. Oh God, round of applause, anyone? Yes! Thank you. Thank you. A little slow, but that's all right. It's now, actually, for the people out there in TV land, there's actually 55 people here in the audience this evening, so which is great. They've all turned up. There's a lot of energy here, and I think we've actually doubled the amount of people that are watching. So yeah, it's great to be here. Obviously, on Studio A, I will be your host, Dave Thornton, and just like anyone else who's got their first day on the job, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm serious. The producers asked me. They said, "Have you ever hosted a show before?" I misheard them. I thought they said, "Have you ever gone to the snow before?" I said, "Yeah, a couple of times. This is when I broke my collarbone." They kind of looked at me quizzically and said, "Was that Wipeout?" I suppose you could call it that. So what do you know? Here we are. But now, before anyone does call in and say, that host talks a little bit funny. Now, at this point in time, I do have a man cold. This is true this week. That was a bit ominous. Someone went, "Ugh," wearing a SARS mask off the side. But I have actually have a man cold, and I was bedridden last week. And as I was laying there, I was thinking, now, man colds are so insidious that I was thinking a lot of old fuddy-duddies, they might think that women possibly don't belong in the armed forces. But you see, I actually think that the armed forces should have women. They should have nothing but women. Because of man colds, that's one way to stop an army in its tracks. I mean, you know, Napoleon, Hitler, they all got to Russia and it was in the middle of winter and most of the men stopped. You know, they all would have been standing there with their guns in hand just going, right, we'll take a bullet for this country. We'll take mortar. We'll take, it's cold. Man cold. Man cold. Oh, God. I want some Tai Chi and Felicity DVDs. I've got to settle. But now, in the news, actually, this week, it seems the Honourable Mayor of this fair city, John So, has actually mentioned that he's going to step down and he's not going to go into the next mayoral elections. At least I think that's what he said. He was maybe ordering takeaway. I have no idea. Now, also it seemed in the news that actually this week the federal government has gone out of its way to possibly change the $5,000 baby bonus. Yeah, they're going to be taking that away and putting in place an 18th month paid maternity leave. And a lot of families I know around Australia putting up their arms going, whoa, settle, Kev, settle. I mean, that $5,000 baby bonus was great for all of us. It gave us a good opportunity for us to just cherish our time with our new plasma television. Obviously, Bill Henson can't keep himself out of the news. It seems a primary school principal found itself in a little bit of bother as she's been scouting for the infamous photographer for actually some of the models. I know that sounds a little bit unsettling, but quite frankly, I think that's a great idea. That would straighten up kids quick smart. I mean, you know, I know for myself, when I was in primary school, I didn't care about throwing a duster into a head fan. Whatever detention, you can keep that. If I was going to do that, the teacher looked me in the eye and said, right, get to the principal's office, tear off your clothes and show us your lunchbox. I don't think I'd be too happy about it. Now, in the last bit of news that I'm going to give you guys this evening, well, hopefully not for the rest of the show, but just in this monologue, I was found out that an 18-year-old man who was driving down Perth was actually put up for reckless driving because, and listen to this, he was taking two of his friends along, just towing them along on a couch. It just changes the phrase, doesn't it, crashing on your couch. I mean, how good would that be? You know, you're sitting there, you can't find the remote, just go, back it in, Barry. Change the channel to 9, and while you're at it, just skim past the kitchen. I got to pick up some tzatziki. He said he actually found out, he didn't realise he was towing them along until he actually got home, parked the car, got into the lounge room, wanted to watch the TV and realised the caravan was in the middle of it. But, oh, stuff that one up, but it doesn't matter. We're moving on and it's live. Guys, we have got a great show on for you this evening. We have many guests. We've got acclaimed conductor Richard Gill, documentary maker Matt Norman, Olympic athlete John Stevenson, comedian Fox Klein, musician Nick Murphy. So it's a jam-packed show. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome the inaugural StudioA. Oh, very good audience. My nipples are hard. It's now it's great actually being on Channel 31. I'm thrilled to be doing the first show, but there's lots of shows out there that actually 31 did reject. And we've got some of them for you here this evening. Now, if we can pull this bad boy out. And this is a segment we like to call Shows That Channel 31 Rejected. Now, what's so funny? If we can see, we've got the first one in here. This is actually the first show that Channel 31 rejected. Hole in the Wall. The second such show is actually one called Climbing the Golden Tower. This idea was actually Channel 31's hit reality show where contestants are given the challenge of eating at late night Swanston Street takeaway for 2 weeks straight. Now, the last person not clutching their stomach and hallucinating wins the grand prize of a much-needed salad. Featuring all favourite games like Whose Grime Is It Anyway? And all new challenges like Bain Marie Bonanza. Now, next up, as we can see, this is called Dancing with Bears. This gruesome version of the popular network TV show where contestants aren't so much voted off as they are eaten. Also planned is Celebrity Dancing with the Bears special, where Casey Donovan turns the table and eats 3 bears. She's not watching. And finally, we have for sports lovers, Rock, Paper, Scissors Weekly, covering all the results from around the Upper Gippsland area this week, concentrating on whether it's better to go 1, 2, 3, go, or 1, 2, and then go on 3. I know it sounds like riveting entertainment for anyone who has hands. Hosted by Ian Turpie. So, there you have it, another jam-packed week here at Channel 31, The Dream Factory. They were some of the shows that didn't make it, but thank God we are still on. So thanks for watching. We'll be back after this break with StudioA regular Jess Harris and special guest conductor Richard Gill. See you soon. Welcome back to StudioA, coming to you live on Channel 31. Our first guest on our first show this evening is someone we'll be seeing quite a lot of here at StudioA. You might know her from acclaimed Channel 31 series 20-something, or you may have seen her pop up on Rove or Real Stories on Network 10. Please make her welcome. It's Jess Harris.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. I'm good.
The debut show.
The debut show.
The debut.
I know. I threw my part-time job in today too, so this better work.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much for turning up.
No worries. Happy to be here, and I will be every week.
You will be
doing a bit of a segment for you guys.
Yeah. Now I believe because you're a bit of a trendsetter.
I've got a bit of a gift of picking what's on the rise and what's on its way out. I'm always observing everything around me, and trying to work out if it's hot, if it's not. Like, for example, the other day I saw a girl riding a bike and she had Spokey Dokes on the bike. You know those things? I thought that's pretty cool, kind of retro, bringing it back. And then I thought about it. I was like, no, I think it's actually trying too hard to be retro and cool. I think I just like saying Spokey Dokes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
that's when I was a kid.
Just rolls off my tongue. So I thought, saying Spokey Dokes, hot. Spokey Dokes, the product, not. It's difficult, which is why I'm here, okay? I'm going to serve it up on a silver platter for our millions of viewers about what's hot and what's not. And this is how it goes. Because it's hard work being one step ahead, which I am. Now, this list is purely for the moment. If it's hot this week, it could be as cold as ice next week. I live my life with my finger permanently on the pulse. I'm a slave to the call and the current. So get out your grey lead pencils, everyone, or your ballpoint pen, only if you've got a current pen licence though, because this is what's hot and what's not. Number 1 on the hot list is being on time. Okay, it's the new fashionably late. We all know what it feels like to be at the party waiting for that first guest to arrive. Well, remember that feeling and help a friend out. Arrive to your next party on the knocker, drink in hand, ready to limbo. Number 2, megaphones, microphones, echo mics. I'm not fussy. Anything that makes this voice louder than it can naturally go, I'm a fan of. Number 3, singing loudly in the car is hot. Start screaming.
Oh, I love it.
Don't you love it?
I love it. At the moment, I sit in the traffic. I give it a bit of, you know, Kings of Leon song, Sex is on Fire.
I think there's a lot of people doing that.
On your own.
I reckon everyone thinks that they are really sexy when they're singing that song.
Oh, I do. I press my nipples up against a window. It's awesome.
I think if I scream really loud, I just might hit the note.
And you get those guys, at least with the squeegees, just going, do you need a hot no?
I hate them. They're a whole other topic. Number 4 on the hot list, insomnia. Only the cool can't sleep at night. Number 5, checks, writing them, banking them, bouncing them. Even if you've got a big size novelty check, that's when you know you've made it. Retire, life doesn't get much sweeter. Number 6 on the hot list, high kicks, high side kicks, get the leg up. Number 7, killer whales, because they're cute and they're deadly. Number 8, rescue missions. Number 9, rewarding friends with a gold sticker. You know, a little star can brighten up anyone's day, I think. And number 10 on the hot list is low expectations, because then the only way is up. For instance, Dave, my expectations of you are so low, and you are already exceeding them beyond what I thought. So, you know, like tips for everyone. Gold star. Here we go.
Thank you. You sound like my careers officer in high school.
Yeah.
Thank you.
1 for me too. That was good. Hot. Okay, now it's time for not. Because, you know, some people are really cool. They would have known that that stuff's hot. But a lot of people don't know what they're doing wrong. Okay, so listen up. Number 1, emotional drunks. Telling people how drunk you were or how drunk you're gonna get, so not hot. Number 2, swimming with dolphins. Number 3...
You don't dig... Wait, sorry, you don't dig... you don't dig swimming with dolphins?
I don't dig the dolphin.
You know?
No. I feel like everyone loves the dolphin. It's just the friendly creature of the sea. Yeah, great. I'm over them.
You just...
Dave, I'll say no more. That is it, okay?
Stick them in a tuna net. You don't care. Right.
Dolphins out. Number 3, sticking your tongue out in photos. You will always regret it. Keep it in. Number 4, the saying, build a bridge and get over it. Anyone that's saying that is in big trouble. Number 5 on the not hot list is pillow fights. They always look a lot more fun than they actually are. I actually think it's a passive-aggressive way of getting your frustrations out on your friends. Number 6, what is not hot is following recipes. I just feel like no one trusts themselves anymore.
That is exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, we're a country that's built on, like, the Chico roll, you know. They don't know what they put in it. But dag-nabbit, it works. Like,
exactly.
Be MacGyver, grab a avocado, tin foil, your brother and a sock and sort it out.
Go gold. Exactly. Number 7 on the not hot list is Spanish tapas and all sharing of small meals. It gets expensive. Everyone's trying to be polite. You're always hungry and you're like, no, I'm full. You had the last prawn. I'm stuffed. Meanwhile, in your head, you're like, I'm starving. Number 8, too many fridge magnets on the fridge. Get them off. Number 9, slam dunks are out. It's very 90s. And number 10 on the not hot list is telling everyone, I have had such a busy week. Everyone's had a week. Keep it to yourself. And that is what is hot and what's not for our debut show.
Yes, Harris. Awesome work. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you, Jess Harris. That was very insightful. I also want to add, people that say busy, I don't like people that say hump day either.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's in the same category.
Yeah, it's freaking Wednesday. Deal with it. But Jess Harris, hopefully you'll be back every week.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell us what's hot and what's not. So give another round of applause. What's hot and what's not with Jess Harris, everybody. Thank you. New. Our next guest has accomplished, I would say, a few things in his time. He regularly conducts for Opera Australia, is musical director of Victorian Opera, artistic director of the Sydney Symphony's education program, won numerous awards including the Order of Australia Medal, works as a lecturer at the Melbourne University and also played in rock bands in Brisbane at one time open for Johnny O'Keefe. You may have also seen him on Spicks and Specs or hosting various music shows on the ABC, and in between it all has found time to eat, sleep and visit us down here at StudioA. Please welcome Mr. Richard Gill. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Take a seat, take a seat. Thank you. That was, did we get all of that right?
Yeah, the Johnny O'Keefe one was the interesting one, but yeah, you got most of it right.
It made me feel so bad. My CV is like dish pig at La Pulqueta and street cleaner. And that's incredible. All of those orchestral conducting, have they happen over different times? Are you still at the moment conducting? Does it all happen at the same time? Do you go from state to state pretty regularly?
Several gigs can happen at the same time. We can have a week in Sydney and 3 or 4 weeks here, then a couple of weeks somewhere else and so on.
Oh, bit of travel involved. Now, going back to that Johnny O'Keefe, is that how you started? Were you in a band, a rock and roll band?
I was in a group called the Mark Fours. It was a vocal group, and we were pretty ordinary. And we used to play 3 times a week at places in Sydney. One was called Surreyville, which was up at the university. And there was a dance we did at Parramatta, in the Parramatta Town Hall.
Yep.
And then one at Penrith. And in those days, they were all rock and roll dances. So there was, we backed a band called Phil Wild and the Wildcats. And I'm talking 1959, right? So it was, rock and roll was right there. And the kids used to just dance around the room all night while the bands played, and we shrieked and did shawada wada wah wap and choreography and a lot of that sort of stuff and hoo ha ha ha. And when anyone wanted to amplify something, they just put the microphone down the piano or they put the microphone up against the guitar. Nothing was really amplified. It was a very low tesh, and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds all very improv with the choo-wah-wah and the na-na-na-na-na. It's easy to work.
Playing piano like that, standing up.
Oh, wasn't that the JK? Is that how did he used to play like that?
No, he did never play, he sang. Oh, but we always did sort of warm-up acts. There was a hierarchy. Yeah. And there were the headliners like Dig Richards, and if you mention Dig Richards, maybe no one knows Dig Richards, but anyway. And various people like that, and we were the first cab off the rank at 7:30. Oh, right. And so you always knew your value by the time you were given the gig. Yeah. Like if they said, be there at 6, you knew you sucked. So if they said, be there at 10, you thought, there'll still be people around. So that's how it worked. Really? As comedians, it's the opposite. When they say come at 11, everyone's going to be drunk. So you are just a target for people to throw stuff at. But now, how did you move then from being, it was just a 4-piece band? Yeah, I was a vocal group. It was a vocal. Working with a band, yeah. And then you progressed from that. How did you make the leap from that to orchestral music? Well, while I was doing that, I was a student at the Conservatorium in Sydney. So, and then I went from there to being a high school music teacher, which I did for 7 years in a suburb in Sydney called Irvington. Does that test your patience? High school music teaching? Absolutely. Do you legitimately just give the numpties the triangle and go, just bang it at the end? No, you don't give the numpties the triangle. Everybody's worth a go. It's really important, and I think one of the big problems with this country at the moment is the fact that music education is such a disaster. Particularly state music education. Private school kids have it generally good, but the state kids, they also pay taxes. Yep. And music is seen as a very, very low priority all around the country. In fact, there was a review into music education done in 2005, and Australia is way, way down the bottom on an international scale. Really? Yeah, it's really serious. And I'm not talking about giving kids classical music, I'm talking about any music.
Yep.
Because there is no special value in saying, I like Beethoven as opposed to I like pop or hip hop.
Yep.
It's not about that. It's about having music, and every kid should have music of some description.
Because we pride ourselves here in this country on obviously our sporting prowess. Now, a lot of money gets put into that. Do you think, I mean, I think I was reading the other day, something like $18 million is what it constitutes at the end of the day for a gold medal to be won. I mean, surely some of that money could go back into arts, music, structure.
I think it's about balance. I don't think it's about... I think every kid should have sport.
Yep.
And for my money, I would say sport, physical activity, and music should be the bookends of a curriculum. But music particularly, because of all the arts, it's that art which uses more of the body, the mind, and the brain than any of the other arts.
Do you think reality TV shows like, you know, now you're Australian Idols, and so you think you can dance and things like that, do they help or hinder in those situations? Do you
don't
think?
start me on some of them. I mean, I've done one. I did Opportunity Oz for ABC TV, and that was a reality television show, and that actually helped because we employed 3 people as a result of that.
Right.
The thing that reality tends to do is give people the idea that you don't have to work terribly hard. You can have your 15 minutes of fame, and it'll all happen for you, and it'll all be made. And the point that I made on Opportunity Oz was, if we give people the idea you can become an opera singer in 6 months, then we have failed. And the thing about the work we do, any musician we do, is to keep the business alive and keep training.
Yeah, which I suppose then, could that be feasible in orchestral music? I mean, if you couldn't have a conductor come along for 15 minutes and then just, you know, get them down to 20 conductors like a reality TV show.
No.
Just,
You couldn't.
It just couldn't happen.
No, it wouldn't happen.
What does a conductor, pardon my ignorance, but what does a conductor do? Because basically all I know from orchestral music is Warner Brothers cartoons.
Right, okay, that's a good start.
That's
what we do is to try and keep out of the way of the music and try and shape the music the way we think it is on the score. That's basically what we try to do.
Yeah, right. So you're in charge of the whole kit and caboodle?
The whole kit and caboodle.
Does it ever, like, because you're giving it a little bit of this when you started out, someone over here, some brass guy just decides to crack on, how do you reprimand that? How do you...
Well, you can't stop it in the middle of a rehearsal, or you can't stop it in the middle of a performance. In a rehearsal, you can.
Yeah.
But basically, I tend to do it with a look rather than a comment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of players will try and get under your skin deliberately.
Yeah.
And if you let that happen, if you lose your cool, you're gone.
They get under your skin deliberately.
So they try to, yes.
They're there with the tuba, just giving it a...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Now,
That's right.
what I wanted you here this evening to try and teach me,
Yeah.
because you talked about, you know, with kids like hip-hop, or if they like rock, or they like orchestral music, like you're playing, and it's all, you would classify it all in the same boat?
It's all music. It's
all music.
all music as far as I'm concerned, yes.
Now, we actually have here, and don't think that Channel 31 hasn't forked out the big bucks, we've actually got here a Kawasaki piano. Now, before we do kick off, I'll show you a little ditty that I know, see if anyone can pick up on this one. Wait. Does anyone know it? Yeah. That was Doogie Howser Unfinished Symphony. But now, can you, with that, with the Kawasaki, I don't know, AAA battery, is there any way you can show me a little bit of Beethoven or...
Show you some Beethoven?
Yeah. Could you crack on with the ivories?
Well, yeah.
This would be great.
What about the 5th Symphony for openers?
I prefer the 4th, but go for it.
Your turn.
Oh, Jesus. That made me feel like I was at my nana's place and the doorbell was going, oh, good morning.
More people. That's the fourth.
Don't clap that. So what else would you know? Anything?
Well, this little bush, I guess we can do this busker one, right? Oh, hang on.
That is brilliant. It's kind of like someone's phone's going off. But now it's that easy. Well, I'm not saying it's that easy. Like I said, I'm not exactly musically au fait. But if you could go to schools, present one of these bad boys, and prove to people that it is that easy, would you?
No.
No?
No, because this is not the real McCoy. I think the great thing about music is that we've got to get rid of the toys, and we've got to do it properly. You wouldn't do sport that way. So we have to treat music seriously. School has to be treated seriously. Sport's treated seriously, and you made a really good analogy. And my view is if we had the same in sport as we had in music and various other things, this country would be at a different level. This is fun, but that's not serious music, okay?
What do you think the benefits then? I mean, obviously the creative side that kids will get that benefit from.
Of music?
Yeah, of music.
Music, well, it's very interesting. They're doing an enormous amount of research on that at the moment. And it's the one area that uses one field that uses both sides of the brain.
Right.
It's a very, very high order of thinking, and it's the most valuable thing for getting kids to listen and to concentrate. And all education is about listening and concentrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. Thank you very much, because some of the production helpers did buy this Kawasaki, and they were dealing
They've gone all out.
They have gone all out. They actually broke the budget. And we only got it from Dimmy, so that explains how we're down here at Channel 31. But guys, Richard Gill, thank you so much for dropping in. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Pleasure. Now, he just walked off. He's gone. He's going to go busk out the front with this bad boy. No, Richard, thank you so much for dropping in. Now, we've got a break on now, but hang around because we'll be back with documentary maker Matt Norman and medal-winning athlete John Stephenson. Thank you. I had an audience member just falling over themselves for a free lolly, so that was good. Here at Studio A, we pride ourselves on our sporting prowess. The unfortunate thing is we don't have any. So we invite guests on who do. Please welcome to Studio A's comfy chairs, medal-winning athlete John Stephenson and Aussie filmmaker Matt Norman. Thank you. Take a seat. Take a seat, Velkommen.
So you can see that I'm the athlete, obviously.
And I'm the filmmaker.
All right.
Oh, this is throwing things off. This is my first episode too. I don't know what I'm doing.
That's all right.
Now, Matt, that is true. You are the filmmaker.
Yes.
Because this year, your film came out, Salute, your documentary.
Yes.
It was actually about the athlete Peter Norman, who just happens to be your uncle. Right. Yeah.
I'm just making sure that you knew exactly what it was. You've obviously seen it a few times.
I did see it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Look, the film is called Salute. It had a good run here in Australia, but we're pushing for it more overseas. It's about the Black Power protest, where my uncle Peter Norman, who's also a good friend of John's, was involved in the Black Power protest in the Mexico City 1968 Olympics. And unfortunately, you know, growing up, I've always been able to say that my uncle's the fastest white man in the world. It got me laid a lot, obviously, because, you know, nothing like having a fast uncle. They thought it would be and unfortunately I do break records in that department. It kind of wore off as I was an adult, not the fastest bit, but, because that's still exactly the same. But saying to people that my uncle's the fastest white man in the world, I realised that no one knew his name, and he's an Australian icon, still holds the record 40 years later. And to be honest, you know, most Aussies, you know, we're meant to be in this sporting, cultural society, and you know, most people wouldn't even know that today's Peter Norman Day in America.
Yeah, for people to put it in context, your documentary is about your uncle Peter Norman, who came second at the 1968 Mexico Olympics, and he stood on the dais with Tommy Smith and John Carlos in the 68 Olympics. It's a very iconic image. I think we've got it here, if we can put it up on the monitor. That's the image there of the two lads who were standing there with the salute.
Now, Peter's the white guy.
Oh, right.
A lot of people get that confused. I don't know what it is. But, yeah, it's actually been voted as the one of the top 3 images of the 20th century. Number 1 was the moon landing, number 2 was the JFK assassination, and number 3 is this. And so obviously, you know, it's been a historical picture 40 years down the track, and Australians are now only realising that we had an Aussie that was right up there with the Americans.
Yeah, it's amazing when I'm talking to friends about it, and a lot of people know the iconic image, but don't realise that that was an Australian that was there that came second, and then also that it was Peter Norman. Like they just don't understand or know the backstory.
It's probably because over all this time, the Australian athletics side of things hasn't been very supportive to Peter. The Olympic movement itself wasn't really supportive. I mean, he wasn't even invited to the 2000 Games in any official capacity, even though he still holds the record today.
What was the time that he ran?
It's 20 seconds flat is what they've
20.08.
20.08 is the correct time, but back then it was 20 seconds flat, but it's 20.08.
They just went, nah, that'll do.
Well, they rounded it off at the closest, I think. But, I suppose measuring back then wasn't as good as what it is now.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you said Peter was a friend of yours, I believe, John?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was very lucky to be able to develop a relationship with him before one of the best moments of my life in this town, Melbourne, and you know, it's funny how people enter your life and for a reason, you know, and it's really funny, you know, what I've experienced over the last 2 years since that time has been a lot, in somewhat say, parallels what Peter has been going through, you know, or what he went through. So, yeah.
Now, when John says one of the best moments of your life in Melbourne, like you weren't talking about being drunk at Cookie Bar or anything.
No,
you won gold at the Commonwealth Games.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was really, you know, it was one of the best moments in my life, you know, and it was just good to have an achievement like that in my country, you know, where a lot of people wouldn't get that opportunity. I missed Sydney Olympics, so I wasn't doing the sport, and then I always thought I'm never ever going to have that opportunity to have, you know, 80 to 90,000 of screaming Australians for such a big event like that. And like I said, you know, from that time until now, it's been pretty difficult for myself. And, you know, it's times like that where, you know, you realize people enter your life and say certain things you don't realize at the time. And I was saying to Matt in the green room, you know, that there's a lot of things Peter said to me at the time I couldn't appreciate. And now when I sit back and I go through some form of adversity, I realize, you know, what he really meant. So, yeah, it's a touchy subject, Peter, when Matt talks about all the movie and stuff. It's very, because you kind of, I feel, I get very sad to know that I don't have him in my life anymore. But you know, what Matt is doing, I think, is fantastic, because we are, in America, we are trained for 5 months a year. People know who Peter Norman is, like, anywhere you go, you know, and unfortunately in this country, we don't know the name. We know there was a person on there. Some people don't even know there was an Australian in that historic movement.
I mean, when you talked about when you touched on adversity, I mean, basically his story is about adversity, isn't it? It's about him being there on the dais with those athletes, and I believe you've got the badge there, the Olympic Project for Human Rights.
You know, back in 1968, obviously it wasn't the coolest thing to stand up for Black America. JFK had just been assassinated, Martin Luther King was assassinated. There was the slaughter of the Mexican City students just before the Olympics. It was a really hard time. Peter got onto the stand to support what Tommy and John were about to do by wearing an Olympic Project for Human Rights badge. And for doing that, support was pretty much ostracised for the rest of his life.
It's amazing, isn't it, with the Olympics, because you would assume that that's countries coming together. But you would know, John, you went to China, and obviously there was, preceding that, there was a lot of talk about the humanitarian issues, and some people were talking of boycotting.
Well, I think that's the most important thing to look at is the humanitarian issues, not so much the black and white and pink and blue and purple thing. You know, I think, yeah, if there's some form of injustice, I believe as a man you should have the right to be able to vocalise what you disapprove on it, or if you feel there is injustice. But you know, like I said, it's what Matt's doing is great, and hopefully we can continue it.
Well, guys, thanks very much for coming down. And
Thanks
now,
for having us.
is the documentary, I believe it's coming out on DVD soon?
Yes, in about 4 weeks. So in November it comes out. It's just finished its Australian theatrical release now.
Yep.
And we're over in the States next week.
Yep.
And in Europe, but we'll get it first on DVD, obviously. It'll be a first for Australia. So, yeah, no, that comes out. And then next year I'm doing the drama version of the film.
Oh, really?
In Mexico and the US.
Oh, right. You're looking for a leading man. It was worth a try.
I was.
Oh, what?
That'd be fantastic.
Awkward. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Great
you could
story.
play Tommy.
Yeah. No, wait. Haven't started with that. John, you came down from Sydney for this, so thank you so much for coming down.
Without
I
a
really
doubt.
do appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a round of applause. We'll be back after the break soon with Tommy Daslow, and we'll be back with Tommy Daslow and comedian Fox Prime. Thank you very much.
Studio A is brought to you by petrol. Sure, it's expensive, but what are your options, hippie? Facebook. Procrastinate with everyone you've ever met. And the Australian Armed Forces, letting other countries tell us where to fight since 1914.
Thank you. Now, it's time on Studio A for a regular guest. Ladies and gentlemen, if comedy was a debilitating disease, this man would be constantly in the emergency ward. Put your hands together for Studio A brother-in-arms, Tommy Daslow.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Big T, I don't know if I've ever called you
That's
that
what they
before.
call me.
That's what they call you.
Yep.
Tommy, you're here. Now, Jess was here before telling us about what's hot and what's not. Now, I believe you've got something that you're going to be showing us. You're going to be doing a bit of myth busting or myth hunting.
Yes, I'm going to be talking about mythical creatures.
That's right.
I'm a bit obsessed with.
So, actually, if we can cue the visual now, welcome to Tommy Daslow's Myth Zone.
Yes. Thank you. All right, so this week I'm talking about one of my favourite mythical creatures, the 7-foot creature that is rumoured to lurk around the Pacific Northwest, known as Bigfoot. There we have him. Now, I'm obsessed with Bigfoot. I really want them to find him because I'm a bit of a nerd, and I've realised that meeting Bigfoot will be the closest I'll ever come to getting to hang out with Chewbacca. I reckon that would be great. Like, think about it. If we had Bigfoot just running around, like if he got discovered, it'd be great. You could put him in the Big Brother house. He'd release a book. You'd have him on Oprah. Oprah asks a sensitive question. Bigfoot eats Oprah. Rah! No more Oprah. How good is Bigfoot? It'd be great. But now, luckily, there is a guy out there on the case trying to find Bigfoot. He's a guy by the name of Tom Biscardi, a self-confessed Bigfoot hunter / Las Vegas promoter. Not quite sure which one of those looks dodgier on the CV, the booking strippers or the hunting a possibly fictitious ape. Don't know which one you'd put into Seek if you wanted to find yourself a new career, but in case you were wondering how you do get into being a Bigfoot hunter, in his own words, Tom Biscardi has said that he was sitting around one day and he says, I thought to myself, we can put a man on the moon, yet we still haven't found Bigfoot. Which, I love that in his mind that the first thing we should have done once we got back from the moon was just crack on with the search for Bigfoot. You know, like curing cancer? Nah. Feeding the homeless? Lame. How about tracking down the star of Harry and the Hendersons? Now you're talking.
Life on Mars, keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
An unshaven homeless guy, let's go for it.
Let's do it. But I got roped in by a hoax that Tom Biscardi was behind earlier this year. I don't know if people saw it or are familiar with it, but him and 2 guys claimed that they had the corpse of Bigfoot inside a freezer, and it turned out to be fake. But
Really?
yada yada. But the best part about it was, if you were going to fake having the corpse of Bigfoot, you'd think you'd go to a bit of effort, wouldn't you? You'd probably, to make it look realistic. These guys not so. I couldn't find a picture of it, so I've recreated it as best I can. If we can just bring up the graphic of the artist's impression of the real Bigfoot. Do we have that? Ready to go? No, great. It's going well. It's going well. Well, you all know the mythology of what Bigfoot supposedly looks like, right? This is a recreation of their attempt at Bigfoot, the body of it. That's basically what they did. Let's slap a teddy bear into an esky. That'll do. It's hardly Madame Tussauds quality.
Everyone can see it's a Pizza Hut esky.
Yep. The money's going to roll in from there now. Great, but I thought about it, right, and I thought I really want to catch Bigfoot. Like, I really want Bigfoot to be accepted as fact. So I've come up with my own plan to how to catch him to help Tom Biscardi, right? And the thing that people forget about Bigfoot is essentially I reckon he's just lonely. So I reckon we should make a friend for him. And in the papers this week there was a story about a Japanese company that's built like a robot that can move like a human. So I reckon we get that, and we strip it off, and we kind of put a new skin on it and make a Bigfoot mate. Now, I've done an artist's rendition of how I would go about this, and now I'll talk you through it, because I realised to the untrained eye this could look like something that was done by a guy at 3 a.m. while high on Sudafed, which is partly true. So you start off here with a pair of those like bear claw slippers that you can get from Hot Potatoes and places like that. For the hands, you'd get those big foam mitts that you get at the wrestling. You'd wrap the whole thing in carpet. You'd put a Garfield kind of toy here, and then you'd cap the whole thing off with Warwick Capper's hair, just to complete the illusion.
What I look like? He kind of looks like if Garfield was the bass player for Motley Crue. Like,
but wrapped in carpet. So now, once we have Bigfoot, the pressure is on, because you want to make sure you do the right thing with Bigfoot once you have him in captivity. Treat him sensitively and get the best out of him. I propose a series of appearances at Westfield Shopping Centre, followed by a PG-rated holiday movie with Danny DeVito. That's no monster, that's my brother. Danny DeVito doesn't sound like that. What the hell was that? So, of course, now, the only downside of that is Tom Biscardi, senior Bigfoot hunter, now he won't have anything to do. But I've come up with a solution, right? It's just a simple career change to Loch Ness Monster Hunter / Las Vegas promoter. Because, after all, we can put a man on the moon, but we still haven't caught the Loch Ness Monster. So that's how to catch Bigfoot. Thank you very much.
Tommy Daslow.
Thank you.
Deserve a gold star.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now that was Tommy Daslow. Hopefully he'll be returning every other week, hopefully, to give a little bit of a segment. Now, it's time for comedy. And this week's comedian, you may have seen him at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival or performing on Stand Up Australia on the Comedy Channel. He's been ripping it up here in Melbourne. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for wonderful stand-up comedian, Fox Klein.
Hello. Welcome. All right. It's great to be here. Thank you very much. We're driving over here tonight, and we stopped at the lights, and this guy in front of us had a bumper sticker that said, "Honk if you're gay." Yeah, and then the lights changed, and he didn't move. I was like, what do you want to do? So we rammed him. Just seemed like the right thing to do. But it is good to be here. It's a couple days to the weekend, which is fantastic. I love the weekend because it means parties. And I went to a party last weekend, and in the main room where everybody was sort of hanging out, they had one of those, do you know those fireplace DVDs that you can buy? Do you know those DVDs you can buy? It makes it look like there's a fireplace going in the room, and they're okay. They're kind of cool, unless you're hammered, right? Yeah, I don't know if you've ever thrown a log into an 80-inch plasma before, which ironically started a fire. I was like, dude, your fireplace has surround sound, man. This is awesome. Got to be careful when you drink, especially if you're like me. Do you ever do the drunk dial? You ever do that? It's like 2 in the morning, you're drunk and emotional, and you got your phone, you're like, hey, do you know who I haven't spoken to in a while? All my exes. Even that one that ended badly in IKEA 7 months ago, I'm going to call her right now. So you call like 22 times. Eventually she gets her new boyfriend to answer, right? And he's like, Stacey's phone, who is this? And you're like, I used to be you. You're crying to a dial tone for 6.5 hours. I don't know. I'm on the drunk dial plan. I don't know how I did that. But it is, I'm always making a fool of myself, especially like with my phone. Like the other day I was on the train and I'm just sitting there, I'm just talking to my friend, and this incredibly beautiful woman came and sat like directly opposite me, but like facing me, you know, on the seat. And I was talking to my friend, and I just wanted to let him know about this girl, but I didn't want to be too obvious about it, right? So I kind of did that whispery code thing that you do, right? I was like, dude, there is a hot chick sitting in the seat. But he can't hear me, right? He doesn't know what's going on. So he's like, what? I just get like more intense with it. Like that's gonna help, right? I'm like, dude, there is a hot chick sitting on the sofa. But he thinks we have bad reception, right? And he's hung up. But I don't realize that. I keep talking for like a minute, right? Like, and then right in the middle of me doing, he calls me back. So now the phone I'm talking into, it starts to ring. And so now I'm the crazy guy on the train. And then I look across at the girl, and she's like, there's a weird dude. And yeah. And then I slapped her. No, well, that's not how the story ends at all. What? I could never slap a girl. What? No, good night. No, Then the story ends with me fighting a dude, and that's how I avoid confrontation at all costs. I don't know how to fight like whatsoever. Like for an example, the other day it was like 2 a.m. I thought I heard a sound coming from the kitchen, and I freaked out. Okay, and then my girlfriend wakes up and she was like, "What's wrong?" But I didn't want to freak her out. There was no reason that she needed to be scared in the same situation. So I was like, "Baby, it's nothing. I'm a little bit thirsty. Could you go get me a drink of water?" Guys, my name's Fox. Thank you very much. You're fantastic. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good, man. Thank you. That was Fox Klein. We're going to a break. See you soon.
Never get to bed.
Welcome back to the show. Now, thanks to everyone we've had on the show tonight. Obviously, Jess Harris and there was Tommy Dassler, they'll be regulars. Richard Gill came through, told us some things about music. Matt Norman and John Stephenson were nice enough to drop down, and Fox Klein obviously made us laugh. Now, we've run out of time. Now I'd like to introduce our musician for the night. He's soon to play with his band Shiloh live at the Yars Friday, 21st of November. He's about to release his second solo album, What's in Your Mad, to be released in the new year. I'm very happy to introduce a great musician and a very nice guy, Mr. Nick Murphy.
Jump inside, 'cause this cab's an easy ride. Going home ain't gonna kill ya. So kill the light, 'cause it's cold as ice outside. And in the morning time, you'll be feeling so alive. Checking your flight on time. Are you quite prepared to fly? Bye-bye. So inane, we sang leaving on a jet plane. As you flew into the sunset. And if I'm glum, it ain't aimed at anyone. It's just a gap in our life. When you took Virgin flight, check out your eyes did shine. So bright compared to mine. Bye-bye. Seems at times it's hard to climb this rocky ride. Stay by my side, but fate is locked, and as you race the clock across the sky, will be the high and dry ones to say bye-bye. destroyed, there's a deep and hollow void, and all our wealth ain't gonna fill it. So how the hell do the stars all realign when you're so far away? And right there you're gonna stay, followed your light so bright. When you took the virgin flight, check how your eyes did shine. Seemed so bright compared to mine. Bye-bye.